I'm here with Gino.
Hey, Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac. Represent on my block. Try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot. I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to game. I wanna get that big bag, need that big Rex. Blow up Tic Tac with a blue cheese at. I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I'll motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Danger, coming with the bangers. Where my fucking paper.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit the wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told them we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my tax is thorough. Way I'm shooting like step with my passes, bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in their fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told them I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down cause dog I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla cause dog I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream, and Bitcoin continuing to chop around here, getting a little bit of a drop to the downside. Now we're getting a little bit of a, local bounce to the upside. What is coming next, guys? Are we coming back down to revisit that $59,000 low, almost about $60,000 low? Are we going to be able to get the squeeze to the upside first? I'm going to cover everything for you guys in today's live stream. We'll also talk about the higher time frames as we are on bottom watch 2026 here, guys. Are we going to break the low? Is the bottom in? Well, I'm not going to say that just yet. But yeah, guys, obviously we've gotten a lot of the pain to come in. We got the capitulation. Can we start looking for the bottoms? I want to cover that on the higher time frames with you guys. We'll give you the local levels, the level we're bouncing from right now, what I'm expecting on in the short term, as well as, what everybody wants to know. When is the bottom coming? So shout out to the Mafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. We got Bailey in the chat. Gen Z, what is going on, brother? We got Neon Visual in the chat. Servando Estrada, what is going on, brother? We got Jesse, Darren Does Things, and Tony D holding down the chat because in these I guess high time frame, bearish time. Sometimes the chat gets crazy. But shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Show the mods some love. We got H-Bar to the moon. Said, I love bottom watching. It's one of our favorite things to do, guys. Sometimes you just got to sit back and look at the bottoms or look for the bottoms, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm always on bottom watch. If you now I'm saying, shout out to Doc. Yeah, me too. Always just, Mrs. Candle's bottom watching, at least for me. But anyway, with all that being said, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the chart. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so here we are. Bitcoin with the wonky chop here, low time frame. But we are getting a little bit of a bounce here locally, guys. We do have an XO chart NPOC sitting here that we did tap into. So shorter time frame. I'm actually going to start here on the lower time frames, and then we'll kind of talk about the cycle situation. Are we going down to 30K? What's coming next? But getting a little bounce here off the daily MPOC on the lower time frames here. We did get some bullish divergences here into the low. Now, as you guys know, if you watch the live stream, I am, there's a couple of reasons why I'm not interested in this. Not that I don't think it will bounce, right? But just in general, right? Like, I want to see confluence. And as you guys know, I kind of do prefer, again, I talked about this yesterday. I don't know if we're necessarily going to get the drop down here. We'll take a look at the higher time frames and we'll kind of cover the probabilities there. But of course, within a volume profile, guys, I really only like to take the bigger long positions when we're down at the value area low. And, especially when we're kind of playing around with that POC, it's just not my favorite kind of situation. Not that you can't take any scalps here. I'll show you kind of the local context that we're looking at. Of course, we have this kind of local volume profile forming here. But for the bigger trades, guys, like I just was not super interested in this. Brought it up to the Discord, but I'll kind of talk about, can we see this little local continuation up? I do think it's possible on the lower time frames with some of the things we see here on Market Cipher B. But we did come into that daily MPOC. We did actually get some bullish confirmations here. You can see here on the 24 and the 30 minute, right? We got the bullish divergences into the low, starting to get a little bit of a bounce there. We also did put in a 1 hour bullish divergence as well, right? Was letting the Discord know there as we were printing this 1 hour bull div. So you came into a key level, got the bullish divergences, seen a little bit of a bounce, right? No real shocker there. And then when we start to look at some of the confluence here, can we see this continue up a little bit? I do think it's possible, right? I do think we get a little bit of a bounce here. When we take a look at the 4 hour, you can see that 4 hour. Oh, wow. Cannot make it up, guys. Popped up live there. 4 hour green dot now printing. Oh, now it's gone. Now it's back. Now it's gone. Man, it's gone. But anyway, we do have an oversold momentum wave here, printing, looking up, I guess green dot flashing, I guess we'll say. But as we look for that green dot to start to print, we could come on down here to the 15-minute. You see that 15-minute money flow starting to trend to the upside here. If we could get this crossover into the green on the 15-minute time frame with that 4 hour green dot printing, it will give us a Market Cipher B 1/16th bullish setup, which could easily give us a little bit of a continuation of that 15-minute trend, which could look something like this, right? Maybe we lose the PLC again. Of course, not going to be able to guess exactly what's going to go on there, but overall, just looking for that continuation of the 15-minute trend. So locally, not looking too bad here as far as maybe a little bit of a continuation up. Obviously, higher time frame, the bigger level still does sit down here. And, when we pull the golden pocket, there's two MPOCs here. Typically, I do pay more attention to the ExoCharts MPOCs, but if we pull up our TradingView MPOCs, you can see we do have one down here at about $64,810, right? Now, this golden pocket from TradingView is confluent with our golden pocket, right? Here, we don't really have that confluence with the full golden pocket from the low to the high. So this is kind of like just like a lonesome daily MPOC. And again, it's not that you can't get bounces off it, of course, right? It's a key level, But when it comes to the confluence, when it comes to, being below that point of control, other than a little bit of a scalp, I was not sitting here scalping today. Maybe I would have been interested in something like that if I was, scoping out the lower time frames today. But, as of right now, right, the bigger positions for me, in my personal opinion, like even on this golden pocket, guys, although we do have confluence, again, right, like for the bigger trades, it does kind of cause a little bit of a conflict for me because, of course, you come into the key level, maybe if you see some bullish confirmations, obviously there's an opportunity for a bounce. And then, even if you got a little retracement into the POC, it's a nice 4% move, plenty of room to make some money. Even here from the daily MPOC, almost a 3% move, plenty of room to make a little bit of money on a scalp. But, I just kind of worry here, if we did come down, tap into that golden pocket, right? You're below the point of control. You got to fight that POC and, not to even mention the value area high. And when you start to talk about the volume profile theory there, right, you're below the POC, it can be a bouncy kind of sketchy, not sketchy, but a little bit of a wild journey, right? You can get those bounces, but like oftentimes you will bearishly retest that POC and eventually get a move back down to that low. So, as always, right, for the bigger trades, I do prefer to see that value area low tapped. So I'm kind of sitting on my hands here, more interested in the bigger trades. And I was kind of telling the Discord, also, it's like, if we get a bigger push up here, right, like I'm just totally fine. Like I try to explain this a lot on the live stream for people learning how to trade, maybe further into the beginning part of their journey, right? Like you can't chase every single move necessarily, and like I think the more experience you have, like the more years you have under your belt trading, right? Like oh my god, I missed the long, right? It's okay, you can catch a short, right? Oh my god, I missed the long, I missed the short, right? It does not matter. I'm really more interested in the setups that I'm waiting for, my key levels, my confluence, right? I set those traps in the market. If I don't hit the trap, unless again, if I was on a lower time frame here, maybe see this as a new trap. But for the most part, I would say this is the next big key level underneath us if we do wind up getting another drop to the downside. But again, like not a super, super huge level. You have a little bit of confluence, but with the context of the volume profile, not even really a super big fan of that. Not saying that I won't take a long there if I see the setup. But, I actually thought I had a alert here. Let me go ahead and set that real quick. if I see something there, maybe I'll take a scalp, but I will be treating that, as a scalp with the potential of, maybe locking in some profits before we hit that POC for the potential continuation back down. Then I'd be more interested in bigger long positions down here. Excuse me. So that's kind of the situation here, right? Again, if we get another dump, next level, you got the 786 down there, but there's no confluence. And again, like that same kind of volume profile theory kind of fights against you. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. We talked about this level yesterday, but if we do come back down, that's kind of the only other level that I would be like looking at for some kind of a bounce before coming down to the value area low, which I do prefer. I can't say it's the high, well, I guess within the profile will be the higher probability, but I can't promise you're definitely going to get down there. But of course, if we don't get down there, it is what it is, right? Look for another setup. But with that being said, if we do see this continuation up, guys, we do have some nice context above us, right? If we pull our local scalp range here, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back. I don't typically do this because this is technically, impulse. But if we pull this down a little bit from the beginning of the trend, like this, I don't know. I actually still prefer this volume profile. But yeah, maybe I'll just take a look at this. Let me actually pull it back down there because these both would obviously be valid, but like you can see the respect on this value area low is obviously valid. But I'm going to actually widen this a little bit, pull this down here, right? Grab the low, drag it down here, grab the POC, and then, grab the box here. Bada boom, right? So we could watch this volume profile on the way up. If we are going to get that 15-minute money flow crossover, right, you got to be careful of that red dot on the 15-minute. Might be able to give you a little ebb or flow to the downside, but the 15-minute is always going to indicate the longer-term trend, right? Well, within the context of the 15-minute, of course, but, maybe we, get a little resistance, right, and maybe on some pullbacks, you can get a higher low, and then if we can get accepted back into this profile, we have a very, very, very clean kind of context up here. If we pull from the, boom. All right. So you have let me just pull this to the current price action here. Come on. I think I actually have this. I'm sorry, guys. Let me just undo this real quick because I forgot I have this already set in a folder. Right? How much easier was that? So here we go. If we do end up getting that continuation up, right, get accepted above that value area low sitting at about 60, call it 68K. The hope here for a bit of a bigger continuation up would be to flip that value area low, and then the next major targets I would be looking at on the lower time frames is going to be the POC golden pocket sitting between, sitting between 69,447 and 60, almost 70K, 69,996. You got a little bit of confluence in there with the golden pocket 7-8 golden pocket POC, and then if we're able to, of course, get above that level, break above the golden pocket, next place to look is going to be the 786, hold above the POC, next place to look is the value area high, and you can see those levels are confluent. So a very simple volume profile kind of context here, and the only reason I'm paying attention to this is, well, because when I see that 15-minute money flow looking to cross over into the green, we could say to ourselves, hey, trend could be able to continue to the upside. Flip this. This is your biggest key level above. Flip that to support. You may be able to see that bigger push into the POC and then that value area high, right, for the fulfill the volume profile. Very, very simple and high probability, if I may say. So there you go, right? And, I don't want to really talk about setups here on the live stream, but just in general, right, a few different ways you can enter these trades. Obviously, you could look for the deviations below the value area. This is where you would look at relatively cheap price, right? And then you get those bullish confirmations. You have the bullish divergences. And then at that point, right, you can look for your entries down here. Of course, you have the daily MPOC down here as well. Obviously, I'm not personally holding that trade, but just from a strategy kind of standpoint, right, you could always look for those entries into your key level of support on the deviation below. Get a nice sniper entry. You have a beautiful roadmap above, right, assuming you get in somewhere down there, right? Well, hey, if we get the push into the value area low, that's already going to be about a 3% move. Maybe, in this case, right, when we get an entry that far below the value area, right, sometimes you could use that value area low as your first take profit. But the thought process there would be, hey, if we can get accepted into that profile, right? I always talk about having a plan for the trade. You have to trade the plan. If you don't have a plan, you are simply just gambling. And then, obviously you would expect resistance around here, but with that money flow coming up, you can anticipate a flip of the value area. You have the volume profile theory on your side, looking for the next big target at the POC, and then your last target there at the value area high. Not that it can't go above that, right? But that would just be kind of the plan for that trade. And then the second way you could try to enter these is, of course, many different ways. But, for me personally, right, if I were looking for an entry there, you could potentially look for maybe a nice little pullback right? Even on a local fib, like pulled from this low to the high. Maybe if you're looking for that trend to continue up, you could look for higher lows before higher highs. You could look for the entries on the golden pocket retracements or golden pocket 786 retracements. And then the other really simple way to enter these trades is to just wait for the reclaim of that value area low. And then, of course, right, this is not going to be as good as when you're looking for the entries on the deviation, right? But you could say it's a little bit safer because you've gotten into your value area. So you kind of sacrifice a little bit of your gains, right, or your potential gains for a little bit of a safer entry, waiting for that reclaim of support. Again, not a signal, not a trade. I'm not telling you to enter that trade. I'm just kind of, explaining how the volume profiles work and typically how I look at them when I'm looking for trades. So there you go, right? This is the local context. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a move here on the live stream if we can get that 15-minute money flow crossover. Maybe we'll set an alert there in case we're looking at something else. Where are we at here? Let me go ahead and set that alert real quick. Bada boom. Add alert. Crossing up, 0 line, and we'll do money flow. So when that money flow crosses above the 0 line, we should get that alert. So we'll see. That's the thing to watch right now. We got something at least about to happen that we can look for. But I would not be surprised if you can get a little ebb or flow to the downside because remember, money flow indicates the overall trend. The red and the green dots indicate the ebbs and flows, the ebbs and flows, the ebbs and flows. So that red dot could give you an ebb or flow to the downside before hopefully getting a higher low and a continuation, maybe through that profile. And of course, that is confluent with that 4-hour green dot. And another thing that we also have at play here potentially is going to be the 30-minute money flow also attempting to come up here and look to cross into the green. And if we get that 4-hour green dot and 15-minute money flow crossover, that could assist this 30-minute money flow to cross over. And then we also have our 8-hour green dot, not as close as the 4-hour green dot, because I think that is... yeah, that is now printing. The 8-hour green dot could slowly follow suit, right? When we look at the time frames from low time frame to high time frame, you want to look at them as like dominoes, right? Hey, 15-minute money flow crossover with the 4-hour green dot, maybe give you a little continuation up. As that starts to play out, you could start to shift up some time frames. Now the 30-minute money flow you want to see following suit, right? And then with that, after you see the 4-hour green dot print and confirm, you would want to see that 8-hour following suit as well. And again, that is a little bit far away. We'll see what happens there. But that would be kind of the next thing I would be looking at. So that's what I'm going to be looking at here on the lower time frames, guys. Maybe we'll get some action here during the live stream. But I also do want to talk about, obviously, where I know a lot of people are here trying to figure out massive capitulation to the downside. What is happening next? Are we going to 30K? What the heck is going on here? So I wanted to cover that with you guys as well. But I'm going to jump into the chat real quick here. Before we jump into that, let's see. And actually, before we jump into the higher time frames, I'll cover some of the medium time frame, like bigger levels of resistance that we have as well. Let's see. Took a trade on Aster today, was good. Shout out to OCB. Let's go. I think you asked us to look at Aster yesterday. Shout out to OCB. Nice work, brother. Nice work. Jesse says Wile E. Coyote. Me. Let's see here. Jency said Tony D gets it. Hashtag not a cult. We're not a cult, guys. We're not a cult. Everyone's sentiment is that the bottom is in, another drop coming. We need fear. Yeah, shout out to Genzy. And, I kind of was reflecting back on the live stream yesterday, and I did feel, right, at least within the chat, we had a few people that were starting to get a little bit, like, oh my God, like this is obviously going to 30K, which kind of made me a little bit happy, right? Because, of course, when you start to see that happen more and more, oftentimes, it's the same thing, right? When we start talking about 108K and the big drop down, people start saying, like, oh my God, what are you talking about? 100K? How could you not think that? Right? We are now starting to see that at least, it's, I feel like 99% of the Mafia kind of understands what's going on here on the charts. But when we get a big move, right, a lot of the new people come back that might not understand the market as much. And then those are usually the people that are, scared, calling for massively lower prices. Now, as you guys know, I am not necessarily in the camp that the bottom is in right now. And we could very easily see another low come in. And I'm going to cover that with you guys in just a minute. But before we do that, I do want to cover some of the bigger levels of resistance. We covered this yesterday. Breaking above this $72,237 high, right? This could potentially start to trigger a little bit of a short squeeze, right? Now, we will be interested in potentially looking for short positions up there. We do have confluence. If I pull up our key levels, let me just hide this stuff. Oh, no, don't want to delete it. Bada boom, right? So, we have this wick up here. We have the liquidation heat map showing us that we do have some liquidity sitting above there. Let me just pull this up real quick. Right, so you can see on the liquidation heat map right above that wick, we do have a decent bit of liquidity, right? You got a real hot spot right there. It kind of leads you up to about 70, call it almost 74K. So you do have the liquidity visible on the heat map there. And, of course, you got this big wick to look at. Resistance right above that, right? We do have a daily MPOC and the golden pocket confluence. So, if we do wind up coming through those local levels and that 4-hour, 15-minute and that 8-hour, 30-minute winds up giving us the bigger rip to the upside, kind of the next thing I would expect there is, next thing I'd be looking at is if we can come up here. And, of course, opportunities to be looking for the short positions. We have some setups there in the premium Discord that we're going to be looking at. But we do have to be careful there, right? Because if we break this, there's a lot of shorts, right? We could just eventually see that give us the bigger squeeze, right? And this is kind of what we talked about yesterday. This is kind of that first major level of resistance. I believe we do have some anchored VWAPs sitting in there as well. Come on. Let me go ahead and pull those anchored VWAPs. I'll pull one from up here. Right, you do have that anchored VWAP coming in there, which is going to be a very important level. And then if we pull the anchored VWAP from the high here at $98,000, you have confluence there on your 786. So very simply, right, this is a golden pocket 786 zone, but you do have the confluence of the daily MPOC, anchored VWAP, and then you have the 2 daily MPOCs and the other anchored VWAP from 98K. So these are definitely the 2 bigger targets to the upside. If we see this 4-hour, 15-minute, 8-hour, 30-minute market cipher B setup start to play out, right, these are going to be the biggest levels to look at. Or the biggest targets, I should say. Now, again, here, right, opportunities to look for the fake outs, but we just do have to be careful because if we start really stopping out those shorts, it could start to get a little bit squeezy to the upside, right? And that's the benefit of understanding where that liquidity is. There's kind of 2 ways when we see that liquidity sitting there in the market. Either you're going to come up, look for the liquidity sweep for another drop back to the downside, or, if there's enough liquidity up there, right, you could just start to see that get like really squeezy and the shorts just start to get cooked. So, we'll see what happens. We'll have to see what happens when we get up to that level, gauge the reaction, gauge the entry triggers, etc. If there's no setup there, we'll just let that thing play out. So those are going to be the biggest targets, kind of medium time frame that I'd be looking at to the upside with the nuance of that liquidity sitting above 72,237. So there you go. Let me go ahead and hide this stuff now, hide the anchor VWAPs. So now let's talk a little bit about the higher time frames, guys. When we take a look at this daily, of course, we came down to our, pretty wild through this volume profile, filled in full to the dollar at that value area low. This is still going to be, an important range to look at the end of the day, right? If we can't break out of this value area high, right, well, we would just look for a potential continuation back down. Of course, this is where I would prefer bigger, long positions. Not that I won't take any scalps in between, but this is definitely an area that I'm interested in for 2 reasons. Number one, right, when I'm looking for longs and shorts, right, typically shorts at the highs, longs at the lows. If we get down here, right, you have the value area low, got the wick down there, and then when we pull up our bigger horizontal levels, pull up the weekly MPOC, the monthly MPOC, we got 2 big levels down here, guys. So you do have a little bit of confluence there underneath the value area, and it's very similar. Not very similar. It's the exact same thing as any other volume profile that we look at. If we deviate below that low, right, and we have key support, this is where we can start to look for some bullish confirmations for a bigger rotation back up. I do prefer this. Now, I'm not saying that from a probability perspective, but I am saying that from like a just personal preference perspective, right? I'm not a huge fan of longing below the POC, right? So those local levels we have down here are not just naturally not as interesting to me. I would just really rather see that full rotation, especially with that confluence that we have down below. Pretty significant levels here. Monthly MPOC, weekly MPOC. These aren't like 5-minute levels. These are higher time frame levels that we're looking at there. And then, of course, right, this is going to start to turn into like very important support, right? I think we have a weekly down here at about 55K. This is going to be pretty big, guys, because, of course, I don't know what this is going to look like. I know, obviously in the past we've seen the accumulation zone kind of last for a really long time. As I said yesterday, this is not necessarily needed or guaranteed to happen. But, if we do come back down and take that low, there's a couple reasons why we would expect that, right? When we look at our daily time frame, VWAP starting to roll over. Money flow is still in the red. This would indicate that any pushes to the upside could still be viewed as lower highs and lower lows, right? And then honestly, if we do get a push up first, just make sure I didn't delete anything there. If we do wind up getting a push up first, right, this would start to potentially set up really nicely to maybe put in a daily bullish divergence into this massive support, right? Money flow would have a little bit more time to play out there. And that could be something that I'm going to be looking for if we get that second drop down. So if we do wind up coming down and making a new low, this is 100% going to be the next big level of support, sitting between about, call it the value area low at 59,780 all the way down to about $55,000 at that weekly level with a bunch of confluence down there, right? The confluent areas are where we really like to see big reactions from. So it's an if this, then that. If we come down there, obviously this is going to be an area of interest. And then, of course, when we pull up our 2021 volume profile from the previous bull market, it's also confluent with our value area high there. So, like, very, very, very critical level of support, guys, because at the end of the day, if we do end up getting that move down, of course, the $47,000 POC is kind of the line in the sand to stop us from that $30,000 drop, which I think a lot of people are going to be expecting, which, I'm not going to make any decisions based off this, but, it does start to remind me of when everybody, the big capitulation down, everyone starts calling for 8K, 3K, etc. For me personally, it's a confirmation-based decision. If we come down there, right, we see the confirmations, like I will take that for what it's worth, right, from a technical perspective. But it's just really hard for me to say, getting a scam call right now on the bat phone here. These people don't give up. But this is huge, right? Because if we come down here, you really want to stay on top of this to get a bigger bounce to the upside. And, maybe that's where the bottom comes in. I am in the camp that, the highest probability we are, obviously in a bear market here, highest probability from like a statistical standpoint would be to expect a new low. We don't have any really like massive bullish confirmations on this wick down here, so it's not like, if we saw something like this, I'd feel a lot more confident that the low was in. But once we get down here, right, like this is really where we're like, come on, hold up. Once we get accepted into this value area high, you got that last level of defense here at 47K. It's not until we lose this that I would anticipate the drop down towards the mid to low 30s. But until then, right, like it's not impossible to see kind of a low form down here, right? And whether that winds up being the bottom before another move up, right? I'm not going to expect it to just like V-shape into new all-time highs. But of course, this is very hard. This is very speculative. It's very hard for anyone to kind of like perfectly predict how that's going to happen. We got really close in 2022, right? Looking for the weekly bull div. I was looking between 12 and 14K. We never hit those targets, but what happens? We form that weekly bull div a little bit earlier at about 115K. And then at that point, we're like, well, hey, those targets don't need to get hit. We have those confirmations. At that point, we no longer expect those lower levels. If we see something similar there between, if we make a new low, right, between about, 60 and 55K, I'm technically 47K. This just gets real sketchy. But if we do wind up seeing that down there, it's like, all right, well, hey, maybe we don't have to see those lower levels. But again, it's going to be an if this, then that situation. If we don't get the confirmations, we get stuck in here. There's just like the chart looks like trash, right? Well, then it might be a little bit easier to anticipate those bigger drops down. But we need more information to kind of figure that out. And then, when we just kind of compare this, I'll pull up this Bitstamp chart for a little bit more history, right? This bottom does not look the same as this bottom, right? This bottom does not look the same as this bottom. So, obviously these could come in many, many different forms. This was just like, I don't know, man. This was just picture perfect for what I wanted to see. But, I have some fractals pulled up here. And, if we're going to come down to that, 47K POC, right? Maybe and the other thing here, guys, is we don't really have the bearish narrative, which is interesting, right? One bearish narrative and things can really start to get scary. And then this is probably where people really start to give up. And we know from the past, when people start to give up, they think the market is dead. It's already that the bottom is either in or you're very close to you're better off looking for a bottom to form rather than saying like, all right, fine, we're in a bear market, right? We've already gotten basically the entire drop down, and, people argue, but we made another low, right? But it's like you made another 14% low from that first big capitulation. So, at that point, it's like, when you start to see everybody getting really fearful, and you're better off looking for bottoms rather than just being like, all right, now we're in a bear market, time to come back next cycle. You miss the entire opportunity of the bear market, and then you wind up coming up in here, right? That's not what you want to do, in my opinion, right? I don't even know if that's my opinion, but it's not really what you want to do, right? It's much better. Like, this is where the opportunity is. If you have been here, maybe you're round-tripped your bags, this is the time to start paying attention to Bitcoin, right? Not up here. And if you made that mistake this cycle, just remember that for the next cycle. And I would say, make the decision to start paying attention right now. But again, even so, I do think like a lot of the pain is over. Even if we get one more big capitulation down, I do think, right, like a majority of this is, probably in the past. Again, that's not me saying the bottom's in. We could get another low, but again, it's like maybe another low like this, right? Maybe another low like this. Definitely not the time to start just being like long-term bearish. If I were still holding my spot bags, I'll tell you right now, this is not where I'd be selling, even if I was expecting lower. So, not financial advice, but do with that information what you will. And of course, right, like if it looks a little bit more like, well, let me just undo this to get my fractal back there. There we go. So, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, right? But when we just look at this, right, it's like, big capitulation from the bearish consolidation, right? People are super hopeful. We get the big drop down. People start to get nervous. And then, you get one more big capitulation. Even if you get like another little scary drop to the downside, it's like, all right, we're in a bear market. Oh my God, the market's dead. Crypto's never coming back. All right, I'm selling my bags, I'm out, right? And then, like, obviously, I would not measure this to, like, call for the level or anything, but, like, that could be at the 47, 48K POC. And then this is the 2022 bottom. And then when we look at, just to kind of show you guys the different ways these can kind of form, right? Beautiful, clean, bullish divergence right into your big key levels, right? I'll just draw that 48K POC, right? Basically the value area high here on Bitstamp. The reason these are different is because the other one is on the Bybit chart, which I prefer. But when you look at this, right, it's like, well, hey, if this winds up forming between $55,000 and $47,000, right, I could actually adjust this to kind of like give you a faux. Yeah, there you go, right? So you get the $55,000, not quite. Let me pull this up a little bit. Right, so you get like the $55,000 value area high to the $47,000 POC. Right, that is the big key level that we talked about yesterday, right? This is kind of like major, major, major support. We really do not want to lose that level. I'm okay seeing this happen. And again, right, if we come down there and we start to see something like this, where we have lower lows on our price action into key support with our weekly, maybe massive weekly bullish divergences or something, well then, hey, we could say, hey, like this looks really good. Money flow's coming back up, right? Like I am not looking towards 30K. It would not be until we lose this level where I would start looking to 30K. You don't want to be late to the bottom, right? Because then you're just going to be sitting there. It's going to be really easy to feel bearish because everyone's going to, if this ends up happening, like the fear is going to be crazy. Everyone's going to think crypto's dead. It's going to be very easy to kind of just sit out. And then eventually that's how you wind up. Like it's going to pull back. I'm not buying now. I'm going to wait for a pullback. And then it just like starts ripping up. And again, right, like I'm sure a lot of people, watching this have been in that situation either in this cycle or in this cycle. This cycle kind of gave really good opportunities to buy back in. But so that's kind of one way it could form. Again, doesn't have to happen like that. And then if you look at it like the 2017 bottom, right, it kind of happens a little bit quicker, a little bit more aggressively. And that would be like kind of the more bullish case here where like literally most of this is over. And then we just got to go take out that low one more time, right? And then maybe we just hold on top of the key levels that I just brought up, right? Here, between the value area low at 60K and, between that and the value area high. Again, I wouldn't just like be waiting for this exactly to play out, but it also be a little bit more aggressive, right? So I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, right? But, as we've talked about, before we ever even got these big drops to the downside, I had gotten a bunch of questions like, Frankie, like, what do you think the bear market could look like? And we just kind of speculate, obviously really difficult to try to call that from up here. But, like, my sentiment really does remain the same here with the way things have played out because it's like, you kind of have the more bullish case where, I'll just pull it up over here, where it's like, maybe you start to retest the previous all-time high, right? The other thing I would not love about losing that 47K, somebody yesterday in the stream said, we're going to 30K. We have to go back to the base. It happens every time. But when you look at that, right, I'll just kind of show this, right? Because I don't just say this stuff for no reason. The reason, and again, this is coming from someone who is saying like, yeah, that's possible if you lose 47K, sure. But the reason I'm open to this being massive support and potentially seeing a bottom form a little bit earlier is because this is much more in line with what we had seen. And again, this is still not saying the bottom is in. You could still see lower prices. So like, I'm not necessarily fully out of the woods, but, if you look at this, we'll have to pull up the Bitstamp chart for more price history. But like, if you look at this, we've literally never, ever, one time, ever gone back to the bear market lows, right? Like, if you mark these out, right, there's 2017 top, bear market bottom. Here's the bear market of 2022. Never got anywhere close to this base, right? You could say like, hey, 2020 got you close to the base, but this was obviously a black swan event. And then you have it right here. Here's your bottom. Come on. Well, I'll just mark it out roughly, right? There's your bottom in 2015. There's your bull market. Never got anywhere close to it, right? So like just looking at this from like a pattern perspective, right? Just like how history is repeated. Like bull market, I mean, I guess maybe consider that a bear market. I don't know if you would, because that's like kind of like near the inception of Bitcoin. But like never got anywhere near there. Bull market, never got anywhere near here, right? Bull market, never got anywhere near here, right? So I don't know. Of course, it gives you the traditional set. Like I see the reason to be maybe looking down there, of course, right? Lose 47K, that is what I would expect. I'm not saying that it's impossible to come, closer to 30K, but we've never seen that, right? Like it's just never, Bitcoin's never done that. And at that point, right, it's like you're also dramatically losing the previous all-time high, which of course, right, just looking at this historically, right, you come down, you kind of retest it. Right here, you come down, you don't even retest the all-time high. So, it's not me saying that you can't go down to 30K, but like just looking at that as like, just don't worry about any bullish signs that pop up before that. Like we're definitely going down to 30K. That's what happens every time. It's just simply not the case, right? So you want to always be careful with that kind of stuff. And if it looks like we're going down to 30K, like it will very likely be prevalent on the chart as we start playing around with the 47K POC and the 55K value area high. So the kind of those two bullish scenarios that we talked about, of course, is, massive support here, right? If we wind up losing this level, that's where we can start looking down towards 30K. I really would not like that because at that point, you're losing the all-time high by quite a lot, right? The previous all-time high by quite a lot, right? Like you're down 55% from the previous all-time high, which makes sense from a percentage perspective from the current all-time high because it would be about a 74% drop. But again, it's not very often that you just like dramatically, like I guess we can actually measure this, right? Like, you never lost the all-time high here. Like here, you wound up losing the all-time high by 17%. Again, it's not that history has to repeat, but, this is just kind of my thoughts, right? This is where I come from. And when we look at this stuff, right, like I would just not be surprised if people get caught off sides. Oh, this is kind of similar to, oh, my God, 8K, 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 right? Now, if the charts look like that, we'll be calling for it, right? But if there's no reason to call for it and we see massive bullish confirmations like we did down here, right, I would not be expecting that. Right. But very likely if we come down here, we'll be able to see those signs on the chart and be able to say like, hey, this is not looking good, guys. I would not be surprised if we wind up losing this and going down to 30K. But we'll let you guys know. I'll be the first person to let you know if I see that on the charts. But until then, right, we can look at this as massive support. All right, let's see. Shout out to Peter, says we have a 3-month red dot, so I think we'll go below the base. So you think we're going to break $15,000. That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. Send it to 47K and let's long BTC. Shout out to Yoda. Hopefully that's the case. Again, I don't want to make any promises, guys. If we get down to 47K and it looks like trash, right, I'm just simply going to have to look at the higher probability scenario, which would be, right, like one thing I will say is if we do end up losing our 2021 POC, like just from a technical perspective, not because it happened last time or anything like that, at that point, right, it's like the highest probability we get accepted into the range, maybe we get a little bit of a bounce, we have no bullish confirmations, the chart looks like trash. At that point, right, we start losing the POC, like 100% this would be the anticipation. We got a 37K, we have another level. But at the end of the day, right, like the full rotation of the volume profile could be likely, right? This would not be like super crazy either, because it's a really difficult thing. I wish it was as easy, as close as we get to saying like, hey guys, top could be in at 126K, as close as you can get. It is a really difficult thing to do, right? Like I can't just say like the bottom's going to come in here. Like I just don't know until I see the price action. I can't say we're definitely going down to 30K until I see that price action. But this would not be like super crazy either. It's kind of a difficult situation because again, if you're going to anticipate the 4-year cycle to just repeat, right, as it has in the past, right, it's kind of hard to argue that that's an invalid thought, right? Like 77% correction wouldn't be that crazy, and it even accounts for the logarithmic regression, right, and with the less extreme pumps and the less extreme dumps, right? Like the previous cycles had massive drops, the next cycle had a less massive drop, this cycle had a less massive drop than 2017, and right? This would also kind of line up with that. 75 instead of 77 would make sense, right? Like there's a lot of people out there that just want to know like exactly what's going to happen to the dollar. It's impossible to do. We're able to make those calls, but it's difficult when you're in the moment. And then we just go with the higher probability situation. More often than not, that is what plays out. But to make those calls, we would have to be down here. But, this is not impossible. I don't want to say this is impossible. Obviously, lose 47K, I'd say it's very likely. But right now, what would make this very unlikely is what I just explained, right? Come down here, see those massive bottom signals, start reclaiming the value area high. Maybe your weekly money flow at that point has played out a little bit, starts crossing back into the green. At that point, right, very low probability we go to 30K. So until I see that, we won't really know the super probabilities of that. So just my thought process, and it's kind of been my thought process ever since up here, right, with like the speculative thoughts. Where are we going to catch a bottom? Well, you have massive support down here on your volume profile with your MPOCs, all the confluence. It would be a retest of your all-time high. That naturally is going to be kind of that first big zone where I would be looking. That doesn't hold. Lose 47K. Probably a pretty fast drop down towards the 30s. Shout out to El Tito. Says, would you say most people don't want crypto now? Majority still say it's a scam. Shout out to El Tito. I mean, I've seen crypto make leaps and bounds of progress. Like Bitcoin was magic internet money for a while. Now you have institutions interested in it, ETFs, like all this crazy stuff. So like I would say from that perspective, obviously the adoption has obviously increased over time very clearly. But you got presidents talking about it. Right now, right, like the interest in crypto, like even at the top here, guys, like nobody cared, right? We still made an all-time high, right? But like nobody cared up here. The social interest on crypto pretty much through this entire bull market has been dead. Nobody cared. And I think it has a lot to do with the lack of liquidity, right? It wasn't like in 2021 where we had like super low rates, massive money printing, right? Like that facilitates a situation where not only you can get like more of a parabolic rise to the upside, different than what we saw here, which was more clean and structured, but also like massive alt seasons. So here, if you look at like all the social analytics, right? Like no one even cared here at the all-time high. People cared more on this all-time high than they did on this all-time high, which shows me that probably the peak of the market was very similar to 2021. Which was the first top, in my opinion, which was very similar. Massive social interest. Price makes a higher high. Social interest makes a lower high. You also pair that with the technical indications of the bearish divergences. Same thing here, right? There was more social interest here than there was here. We literally topped out here while nobody cared, which is kind of wild. Typically, you see like massive euphoria on a top. So that is kind of like an interesting quirk that we have. I guess kind of similar to 2021, so it's not like totally unheard of. But like I would just say like nobody really cares about crypto right now. Like even through this whole bull run, right? Like I think it has a lot to do with like the macroeconomics as well. I don't think that will never come back, but it's we even talked about, obviously we looked for a new all-time high when we got this dip. We were looking for new all-time highs. We got them just from a technical perspective, like very mechanical. But like when we talked about this, it was like meme coins going crazy. Trump launches a meme coin. It's like, man, like if that's not a top signal, it's like that is kind of what you would think, right? But then it kind of throws you off because we make a new numerical all-time high, but sentiment does not make a new all-time high. So it kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Like this is kind of the real peak of the market. And you can look this up, right? You look up Google search term analytics. There's a bunch of tools that you can use to like look at where the social interest has been. And it's just very clear, right? Like more interest was here than here. It's like literally a divergence. Higher high on price action, less social interest, right? Like that's a massive bearish confirmation. Not to mention the obvious technical bearish confirmations, right? Higher highs on price action. Come on, market cipher. There we go. Momentum coming out, right? So you have the technical divs, like almost it was literally the exact same thing as 2021 from a social standpoint and the top at least, right? Not the full bull run, but, massive bearish technical confirmations on the bearish end and then obviously social as well. Very similar, right? And then even on the way down, big drop, bearish consolidation, big drop, big drop, bearish consolidation, big drop. Insane. Let's see. Do I have a video on horizontal levels? Yes, I do. Shout out to Vitrol. I don't know if I said that right. Not MPOCs. Yes, I do have a video. I believe it's in the beginner series. I think it might be titled something like My Routine as a Trader. I show you how I start with a blank chart and get it to a fully marked up chart. And I show you how to mark off the dailies, the weeklies, etc. And, of course, you can use those same strategies to mark off, like, low time frame. If you wanted to, I don't look at these levels, but, like, if you wanted to look at, like, a 4-hour level of resistance, right? Like, typically just to kind of, you definitely watch that video for more details. But, like, I look for the, candle close, candle open, right? When you have those even body closures, that is how I would mark off a daily. And it'll be the same thing for, like, a 4-hour. But I just don't look at those lower time frame levels. Let's see. Shout out to George, says, what do you look for when price enters a volume profile to take a trade? Check out the beginner series. I explain everything in detail. If you have not watched the beginner series, guys, go watch that whole thing. It's like a top-down. It's like basically a free beginner's course that teaches you exactly what I like to look for from like a top-down beginner's view. Obviously, there's more advanced stuff that we use as well. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the altcoins as well. Let's keep an eye here on the lower time frames. Where's that 15-minute? Yeah, so 15-minute red dot printing. See if we get a little ebb or flow. Might kind of already be playing out here. But let's see if we can get that 15-minute. We got the alert set there for the 15-minute money flow crossover. See if we can continue that trend and get above this value area low. Also set an alert here on that value area low. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here on the altcoins, guys. We covered a lot of these yesterday. And, I mean, really the reason for that is because I do expect if Bitcoin gets another capitulation down, right, like altcoins are very likely to follow. I even had some people in the live stream yesterday asking about alt season. And I was like, man, opportunity for alt season was up here for a bigger retracement or all-time highs. I am not looking for an alt season right now. And I always kind of say that from a trading perspective as well, like, especially when you're a beginner, master one asset, right? And if you're going to master any asset, I would master the one that everything else follows, which is obviously Bitcoin. I've found myself in the beginning of my journey, like trying to take a trade on an altcoin, and then like I have a beautiful setup, and then all of a sudden the setup just gets invalidated and we start dumping to the downside or whatever, vice versa. And then I look at Bitcoin, I'm like, oh, wow, the signs that were there perfectly. So you can, obviously, not that you can't trade altcoins, but you just want to make sure that like you're keeping an eye on what Bitcoin's doing, right? Because you got to have a beautiful setup on an altcoin, and sometimes, right, Bitcoin dumps, and then that beautiful long setup just gets nuked on because obviously a lot of the alts are just going to follow Bitcoin. Sometimes you get outliers that just go on their own time, but you definitely want to pay attention to daddy Bitcoin here. All right, so let's see here. I'll take a quick look at Ethereum. Again, I'm not going to go into super detail on these, but yeah, obviously on Ethereum, where's our ETH chart? Whoops. So on ETH, right, kind of just playing around with this value area high still. You're just kind of in no man's land here, right? If we can't get out of this value area, next magnetic level is going to be sitting down here to the POC at about 1640. I believe you also have, is it a daily level down there? Yeah, you have a daily down there in Confluence as well. And just very simply put, get into the value area, can't break out, highest probability, next target will be that point of control. You do also have the daily red dot printing, but I don't really have a strong preference here. Like, this is just not really a place that I would take a trade. You're kind of just bing-bonging around, right? You try to hold it, now you're back in, right? Sometimes you can play around with these levels. I would be sitting on my hands here for ETH. If we do get out of here and push to the upside, the biggest zone of resistance is very clear here, 2194 to 2318, golden pocket 786 value area low. And then this is kind of a pivotal moment, and not pivotal moment for all-time highs or zero, but just a pivotal moment for either a lower high, like two kind of ways this can play out. And again, people will say if there's two ways it could play out, what do you do? What do you do here? Do you long or short? I sit on my hands. All right, if we came up into this key level of resistance and we see massive bearish confirmations, maybe I'd be interested in a short. Here, I'm just not interested in anything. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. But if we go up first, this is the big level to watch, right? If we get the bearish confirmations, this would be a place where I would look for a potential lower high. It's a golden pocket 786. And then at that point, right, your daily VWAP would probably crack a little bit to the upside. And then eventually, if you get those bearish confirmations, print that red dot, maybe that bull div could potentially look to set up on the daily, which would look something like that, right? And then this would be a nice high time frame confirmation for at least a move back up to the value area high at $2,000. And then obviously you have the opportunity there to look for shorts at your key level of resistance. And the reason I say this is pivotal is because if you do not get any bearish confirmations here and you're able to get above that 786 value area low, hold it as support, well, very naturally, the next major target to look at is going to be the PLC of the range sitting at 26.26. So we'll see, right? I'll actually set an alert here on ETH as well. Not that I think it will come out there right now, but once we get that, I will want to kind of look at that reaction. And again, right, like daily VWAP looking a little shady here, coming back down. Money flow is in the red, right? So that's why I would be open to lower highs and lower lows on top of the idea that that bull div could set up here on the daily if we do get a high and then a lower low. And then if we're looking for the lower low, again, based off money flow, indicating the overall trend, that puts this, right? Money flow is continuing out. That says to me that the trend may be able, or very likely to continue to the downside. If I'm looking for that continuation of the downside, where are the high probability levels where that continuation down would start? Golden pocket 786, especially with the confluence on that value area low, be like a bearish retest of the range, and then a potential lower low. So that's what I'd be looking for. We'll see. I think if you're going to get the bigger drop down, I think that daily red dot is the thing to look at. Of course, you do have the 4-hour green dot printing. Similar to Bitcoin, right? Same thing, 15-minute money flow trying to come up as well. So maybe that can help you on a little local rotation back to the upside. But that's just lower time frame. Let's go ahead and jump on into Solana, or Solonzo, as some people like to call it. Just no update here, really, right? Like, we're losing the value area. Next key level of support technically would be the golden pocket, 786, sitting between 75.97 and about 72.16. Once you lose that 786, in my personal opinion, that is where, right, if you come down here, that's your chance to look for a higher low. Once you lose that, again, key level, 72.11. Once you lose that 786, I'm looking to take out this low, right, sitting at 67.29. Taking a look at this from a higher time frame perspective. Again, if you come down now, I don't think the chance of a bull div forming on the daily is likely, right? I think you probably make a lower low. If we get a local rotation back up first, or we can hang out up here, right, and then get this momentum wave to move up a little bit, that gives us some room to come down and put in the bull div. But the biggest levels are definitely like biggest key level, 76 to 72.11. Lose 72.11. I'm looking to take out the low. And then to the upside, of course, you have your value area low sitting at 81.18. This is the level that you must reclaim in order to get a bigger move up. So I'll just leave that there. Very simple. And of course, if you're going to get the bigger drop down first, I think the red dot is probably going to be the thing to do it on the daily. Again, not a place I'd really be interested in. Yes, we're at a value area low, but there's no significant confirmation here. To be honest, if you did come down to this golden pocket 786, right, you could get a bull div on the bodies of your candles, which I do prefer to see. You know, any divergence, it could be wick to wick or body to body. They're both divergences. I do prefer to see them body to body, and this could be a situation where the body of the candle comes down, right? not a great drawing there, but you know, if the bodies of the candles come down here, we get the bounce off the 786, and you get lower lows on your bodies, even if the wick doesn't make a lower low, that could still be looked at as a daily bull div, which maybe are a little bit better set up here for if you don't take out the low. So there you go. Those are some things I'll be looking at on Solana. And then, you know, again, guys, like long term, like still just kind of letting the dust settle here, right? This is not a place, you know, down at the lows is like not really a place I'd be, you know, if I were looking at Solana here and I wanted a short, I would need some kind of retracement up. Like if I wasn't short from up here or up here, I look at this and I go, do I short here? No, I've missed a giant move down. Not saying it can't just continue down, but there's just like, you're shorting into support. So like high time frame, like just kind of letting the dust settle. We've come down to some key support down here. We'll see what happens. Maybe we range around. We get a little bit of a better read on what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I know everybody just wants like, give me the bottom signal. Is that the level? Very hard, very hard. So there you go. We'll take a look at XRP. Everybody's either favorite coin or most hated coin. Again, just like no update here from yesterday. Like we're just playing around with this value area high. We came down, bounced off the weekly MPOC. Like again, We could reclaim the value area high. Like, this could play out in so many different ways. I'm not going to draw out 1,000 different scenarios. But what I will do is I will give you the key levels, right? If we get accepted into this value area high and we get another move down, the biggest key level to look at, I'll even drag this down, is going to be sitting between the 2 dailies down here at about $1.10 to $1.05. Once you lose that, I think the POC is likely at 83 cents. There's not a lot here between these dailies and this POC. There's nothing really for me to look at. You have no naked points of controls, no horizontal levels, no dailies, no weeklies, no nothing. So we lose this just very naturally if you can't reclaim it, right? I'd just be looking down towards that magnetic level of the POC. You also have the volume profile kind of theory helping you out there as well, making that a high probability target. So if you do get a drop down, you're praying that you can hold that $1.05 level. Now, if we get a push up first, right? If we get up, first you have to get above the value area high, sitting at $1.40, and then if we get a bigger retracement, the biggest level to look at is still sitting right here, $1.91 to $1.91 to $2.15. Now, when we look at something like the weekly, right, money flow is crossed into the red. If we get this weekly green dot, right, could give an ebb or flow to the upside, but we do have to be careful of lower highs and lower lows. Why? Money flows in the red. That indicates the trend could also very likely continue down. Where's the lower high likely to come in at? Well, I would say the biggest level is going to be this golden pocket value area low, 786 POC confluence, because that's where the high probability areas for lower highs to form are, right? We had it come in right here on a golden pocket 786, right? We had the money flow coming out on the daily. We look for this to be the lower high, right? Your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low. You end up seeing that come in. Same theory here, right? High, low, there's your fib. There's your value area low. There's your POC. You have nice confluence there. Money flow is coming out on the weekly. If you see some kind of massive bounce to the upside, this would be the first place, or not the first place, but the biggest place to look if you get that big retracement for a potential lower high and lower low. If we start flipping that 786, well, hey, maybe we can get a bigger continuation through the profile. But again, it's probably going to take some time to get up there, and it's all going to depend on what that price action looks like. But from a high time frame perspective, right, weekly money flows in the red. I can't say that this looks beautifully set up, that this is a beautiful bottom for just a massive rip into all-time highs, just to be clear. Let's see. Shout out to Kodak said XRP is digital air to 60 cents. Well, your value area low sits down here at about 70, and then you got your weekly MPOC, right? So if you can't hold that 83 cent point of control, right, next target very likely will be the value area low, and then if you deviate, could be headed down to 60. Yeah, there's not a lot below here, right? So you kind of got air underneath you here, air underneath you here, and then air underneath you here. And there's not a ton of confluence on these levels either, right? You have the POC. Let me pull a golden pocket here real quick. Let me just pull the full. Yeah, I don't know. That's 786 backing you up here, too. I actually dragged this box down to the 786 at about $1.01. That's really where you would want to hold. You lose that. Yikes. I would not argue with that. There's nothing but air underneath you here, nothing but air underneath you here, and then same thing down here. So we'll see. That's definitely going to be the biggest level, though, between $1.10 and $1.01 with that 786. You already lost this golden pocket. Once you lose the golden pocket, right, where's the next likely place for price to go? Well, probably going to shoot down towards that 786. Let's see. 2020, shout out to Dave Digital, said 2022 was so cool. Shout out to Dave. Sol is bearish, Frankie. Shout out to Hopium. I would say everything is bearish right now, at least from a high time frame perspective. Moon boys will pay for their sins. Shout out to Hopium Copium. They usually do pay for their sins. They usually do. But they come in both versions, right? You'll get the Moon Boys, all-time highs, pay for their sins. Moon Boys, all-time highs, ignore the charts, guys. All the bearish confirmations mean nothing. Pay for their sins. So you got to be careful. But in both ways, too, right? Like the Bear Boys, I guess. The late Bear Boys, 3K, pay for their sins, right? So, again, pigs make money, hogs get slaughtered in both directions. I guess, what do they call them? I guess they call them perma-bears. What is the bearish? Let me know in the chat. What is the bearish version of a moon boy? And actually, pulling up XRP, let me pull up the visible range volume profile because speaking of air, right, typically that is what we look at, right? We'll look at that volume. Come on, volume. Yeah, I mean, like, you lose this. There's not much until about, 70 to 53 cents, right, from a horizontal perspective and a volume perspective. Even if you bring in some more of this volume, you get, like, little spikes up in here, but, I mean, not even. Yeah, it's like if you don't hold here, right, you can just see this from a volume perspective. I'll even zoom out a little bit more, right? If you don't hold this node's probably likely, right? Where's this node start? 83 cents. Where's the POC? 83 cents, which is not uncommon, right? Once you lose the POC, right, I guess you got a little cluster of volume down here, but the value area lows at 70 cents. Lose that, 62 cents. Lose that, 56 cents, right? Like gap, gap, gap. Don't like that. Highest volume nodes down here. You don't even have a ton of volume up here, which is kind of sad. Maybe we zoom out more, we'll get a little bit of a higher volume node up there. Not even, right? Like, look at all that volume. Not saying you have to go to 19 cents, obviously, but yeah, not just locally there. It's how we spotted the big drop down here being very likely on Bitcoin. Guys, like, the volume is, in my opinion, the best tool. How do we know that once we lost these lows, we're in a perfect environment for a capitulation, right? There's nothing but air underneath you. Until what? Until our next high volume node. Where are we getting clung up on right now? Right on that high volume node, right? Magnet. Boop. Nothing underneath you. Boop. Magnet, right? High volume nodes are magnets. High, even like locally, right? High volume node, high volume node, high volume node, high volume node, high volume node. Nothing. Gap. Fall through these very likely, right? And then the flip side, if we break back into it, well, hey, maybe we can get a big shot to the upside back through it again. And then like from a higher time frame perspective, high volume node, right? When you lose this volume, price is going to be like, I'm going next to the next high volume node, right? Suck down to that next volume node, right? Fair value. It's auction market theory. Whether you're looking at it from this perspective or you're looking at it through volume profile perspectives where you're saying, hey, if I lose this range, I'm looking to get sucked down to the next area of fair value. It all works the same, right? It's how we're able to call these moves so accurately, right? A lot of it has to do with the volume profile, right? Talking about this rotation through the volume profile all the way back since up here, right? If we do wind up losing this, well, where's the next like super bearish case, right? Well, probably going to get sucked into this volume, right? This is fair value. Lose this upper fair value, impulse out of it, right? Lose this range, impulse out, price is going to seek this, right? We've talked about this like endlessly as we were ranging around up here. What happens? Drop back into the shocker, right? Price seeks out the fair value, gets the reaction directly from the key levels, right? Literally perfect fill of that profile. Magic. Perfect. Anyway, I'm a through the earth first boy now. Shout out to Overcome. Oh yeah, what did you guys think? Michael Burry, Journey to the Center of the Earth boy, a bear boy, perma bear, fall guy, a fall guy. I like that. 100x long USDT. Let's go. Shout out to Dave. Moon Boy or Zero Hero. Zero Hero's kind of fire too. Frankie, can you send, shout out to Perry, says, Frankie, can you send XRP to 589, please, for the XRP army? Shout out to Perry. And yet, like, it's always, I'll tell you this right now, right? Like, I never, ever like being the guy to tell people what they don't want to hear. Trust me, I hate it. But I never won't do that, right? I will always do that. But like even on XRP, right? Like people are saying $5.89, people are saying $100, right? And like we just have the technical levels. Like when the top looks like it's coming in, I don't care how high my targets go, right? Like this is your chart, right? Let's just say it's a Bitcoin chart, right? We're like, hey, for the bull run, these are our targets, right? Maybe this much, and then maybe if it's really bullish, that much, right? And then we come up and we start seeing a top form at this first level, right? That's where we start to call the bearish trend, right? Not, it's okay, guys, right? Like, we're going to go up to the higher targets, right? We don't ignore those bearish signs. And also, when we pull those targets up, you will never hear me use the language of, guys, in this year, Bitcoin will go to this level, right? Never. Nobody knows that. If somebody tells you that, I caution you against them, right? Like, this very dangerous language. Now, you could say, hey, it's what we've done on Bitcoin this cycle, right? We had our perfect example, right? Like, just real life example. We had our targets here about 130K. Once we wound up seeing the bearish target or local targets here, we get a hit at, I think the actual Fibonacci target was 125.2. Once we wind up getting the reaction there, we actually shorted 124K. But once we start coming down and we get a read on the market here, we say, hey, that looks like maybe the top is in. 130K might not be able to get hit, right? But we didn't know that until we wind up seeing the price action down here, which is very similar to when you look for the bottom. It's like, hey, if, right, maybe the target's down here at, 55K, but until we get down here and we can read if that's going to be the bottom or not, you don't know, right? You have to keep those targets open until you can say, if it looks like the bottom's in here, just like it looked like the top was in here, right? Then we could say, hey, high probability, this is going to continue down, right? It's not up here. Oh my God, we hit 126K. It's the top, right? And it's also not, hey, 130K didn't get tapped. Don't worry about the bearish signs. It just target. Look at the target, right? The same thing with the bottom, right? If we get down here, we start to see the bullish signs. Maybe 55K doesn't get hit. Maybe 47K doesn't get hit if we see those signs, right? But we won't know until we see that price action. But I know a lot of people get like very emotionally like, I need to know now. I need to know now. But just, I promise you, nobody will know that. Nobody has a crystal ball. Crypto is brutal. Shout out to Hopium Copium. Yes, it is. It is a... sometimes it feels illegal how much money you can make so fast. And then sometimes it feels like you want to call the cops on it because it'll hurt you very badly. Shout out to Dave said, can we get some Bitcoin TA, Frankie, please? Shout out to Dave Digital. Yeah, we'll get into Bitcoin at some point. We very rarely look at Bitcoin here. Shout out to Gio Panas. I don't know how to say that name, bro. I apologize. He said if the 10th? Talk about the October 10th candle, maybe? Was a normal candle instead of this. Do you think it would go different? I don't know. I mean, to be honest, if this was not a big liquid, I don't know. To be honest, the TA from my standpoint probably would have remained the same, right? Because regardless of that liquidation wick, our stance there was looking at this volume profile. Come on. Looking at this volume profile, saying to ourselves, well, hey, if we get accepted back into the profile, right? And then like before the tweet came out, right? I hate to be super repetitive with this stuff, but I think it's important, right? Like, because it really just does prove that the charts are the truth, right? Like, we shorted up here, looking for a full rotation of this volume profile. Whether we got the liquidation wick was nice when we got that tweet to come in, but just because it gave us like extra dumpage on the short. But when you see this liquidation wick recover, right, it just settles right on that value area low. So if this was not a liquidation, right, we probably would have just rotated to the value area low. And then, if we wound up seeing the charts the same way with our money flow coming out, we still would have been expecting lower highs and lower lows. It probably would have just remained the same for me. So, yeah, I wouldn't really say it would have changed much for me. As long as, like, Market Cipher and the rest of the TA remained the same, I would have just still been saying the same thing just without that wick. Maybe we wouldn't have talked about the fill the wick situation, but even so, right, if we had money flow coming out, we would still be looking for a low, a lower high, a lower low, right, which would still be calling for that longer-term downtrend. Let's see. Shout out to Gen Z said Frankie has a crystal ball. Contrary to popular belief, guys. There's no crystal ball. Don't investigate it, please. For the love of God, do not search the studio. But trust me, there's no crystal ball. Shout out to Perry. Said the garbage coin can't even go to new all-time highs. Like what? Like what? The XRP RB. Shout out to Perry. Yeah, yeah. It's. Again, anytime you hear people call, it's so funny. I see people on, like, Instagram Reels and stuff. They're like, by this date, XRP, December 31st, guys, that's when they're flipping the switch. XRP is going to go, I'm expecting at least $150, like, if not, maybe more. And then it's like, I don't understand how people continue to watch that content. Like it really makes me question the thoughts that go through people's heads. And it's like, oh, guys, actually, because it was the Big Dipper was in this alignment, it's actually going to be January 23rd now. And now, because of that, I think it's going to go even higher. I think it's at least 250. January 23rd doesn't happen. All right, guys, it's going to be in 2 months from now, on Tuesday the 4th, is when we're going to go to 5. And people take the bait, man. And it's like, if you can't, you got to watch that and be like, this, there's no way this guy can know this, right? That's not how markets move. It's always very conspiratorial. It's always very decisive. And I don't understand. It's crazy. And the views on those videos are nuts sometimes. But that just goes to show, right? You tell people what they want to hear, they'll just keep watching, right? But as they're continuously losing money, that's why I always come up here and tell the truth of what I see on the charts. I know it's the highest probability scenario. I'll never say it's 100% probable, because that is the truth, right? That is the fact. At the end of the day, obviously our sentiment up here was, guys, 126K, looking like it might be the top, right? It's not 100%. You're an idiot if you think it's going up. But in my case, right, I'm taking profits on this retracement. I'm expecting a bear market, right? Could it have gone to all-time highs? Sure, right? But just ignoring all the bearish signs and being like the video, all-time highs. I just don't care about that. I would rather tell people what they don't want to hear and save them massive losses, or help them make a lot of money on the shorts like we do in the premium. Of course, never financial advice. Let's see. Shout out to AirSense. Said, Frankie, you said something the other day that has me confused. You said, wait for price to confirm at the new level. Are you talking about candle closures? Candle closures can be looked at a confirmation. When I mention confirmations, I'm typically looking for what I would consider an entry trigger, right? I always say trading, right? Whether you're looking for big moves or you're looking to scalp the lower time frames, right? I'll even bring up a super, right? Price action's fractal. Just like you look for maybe a massive loss of this range to get sucked back into here. It's going to work the same way on lower time frames, right? So if we just look at this local volume profile, I can almost guarantee you we'll find pretty nice confirmations, right? So for the example of a volume profile, this is the highest probability way to look at the market, just because of how the market moves. The market is an auction, right? For me, right, coming into the value area high would be a key level, right? Especially if you have confluence, which might be a golden pocket, a 786. In this case, golden pocket confluence, right? So I look at this, I say I have confluence, right? Value area high is always a key level where I am looking at price as overvalued. When I have confluence on something like that, maybe with a golden pocket, an MPOC, something like that, the more levels in the zone, the better. Typically, the stronger the level. But that's what I would say, right? I'd say, okay, I have confluence here. Let me see if we get up here, right? This is the place where I'm looking for shorts, right? Now, when I say confirmation, what I'm talking about are entry triggers, right? Whether that is maybe a bearish divergence, maybe that is an SFP, right? Obviously, you have to learn about these things to understand what to look for, but it's all about setting the trap, right? Finding the key level, marking out your trap, and then waiting for price to come into your level. Why is the confirmation important? Well, because if I push into this level and there's no reversal signal or entry trigger that makes me think that we're going to go back down and rotate the volume profile in full again, right? Well, then I'm probably not going to look to take the trade, right? I'm going to sit on my hands, and price is probably going to run past the trap, right? And you don't want to take a bad trade, so you want to just sit out and wait for price to come into your next zone. So, for example, here, I can almost guarantee, there it is, right? Both ways, right? This would be your key support level, right? So this is an area of interest for a potential scalp long, right? Through the local profile. Again, we're here on the 15-minute time frame. This isn't some massive time frame. What happens? Price comes into the level, right? And I'll even go into bar replay mode to kind of show you what this looks like in real time, right? All right, we hit the key level. Boom, long. I don't know, right? Do I have confirmation? We'll just stick on the 15-minute to keep this simple. Is there an entry confirmation here? For what I look for, no, right? We've tapped the key level. That's great. Do I have an entry confirmation? No. Do I have a bullish divergence? No, right? I don't have a lower low and a higher low. I just have a low and lower lows, right? There's no bullish divergence here, no entry trigger. And then what do? I say, okay, hey, maybe this bounces to the high, but that's fine. I don't have my entry confirmation. There's a higher probability it will continue down. If it comes back down and gives me an entry trigger, that's where I'd be interested in taking the trade. So I sit on my hands, right? This is where a lot of people would FOMO into the trade. Oh my God, I'm going to miss it, right? Sitting on your hands. This is the hardest part about trading, especially as a beginner. You just want to hit the button, right? You got to wait for the confirmation. Oh my God, I'm missing the move. Oh my God, right? Now what happens? Now I get a lower low on price action. I have a higher low on my momentum waves. VWAP starts to come up. There's your 15-minute bullish divergence. Now on these candles, I'm not going to bring it back to get the perfect, right as we stab down into the level. But at this point, now what do? We tapped into the key level and we have a confirmation, right? Very simple. If this, then that. If you tap the level and you get the confirmation, then you take the trade, right? Here we tapped into the level. If this, then that. If you tap here and get the confirmation, you take a trade. We tapped in the level, no confirmation, no trade. You come up, you put in the lower low, now you have the confirmation. Now I would consider this a valid setup to look for a rotation of the volume profile, right? So this is just one confirmation that I look for. Bullish divergences are very simple to look for. You can look for them on the RSI. I prefer market cipher B because you have the money flow on your side, letting you know that the trend will likely continue up. But that's a very simple entry trigger or confirmation that I like to see. Can you use candle closures? Sure. That's not something I pay as much attention to. I like to see actual divergences between price action and momentum. I find it to be higher probability. But a candle closure at the end of the day could be a confirmation you look for. But there's your bullish divergence. Now, in my opinion, right, or just based off the volume profiles, there's a very high probability that you can get a rotation of the PLC in the value area high. Of course, this is all hindsight. I mean, we literally do this live on the live stream when we get those rotations as well. But obviously, now you've gotten that full push, right? POC could be your take profit 1, value area high could be your take profit 2, and now we've tapped into our value area high. Is there a trade to take here? Well, at the end of the day, there's nothing saying that you can't just tap above the level and rotate back down. But for me personally, and there's some times where you'll just tap and go back down. And those are sometimes trades that I miss, right? And that's totally fine, right? Because there's going to be another opportunity. You don't just want to chase trades. I would consider that lower probability without a confirmation, right? And we're talking about divergences specifically here. So we let price play out. A lot of people would chase this, right? Now, what are we doing? We've pushed above the value area high. This is the key zone. This is above the value area high, which is where we like to look for longs or shorts. This is considered overvalued price action based off the previous relative fair value. Inside here is fair value. Up here is expensive. Up here is expensive. Down here is cheap. Down here is cheap, right? So I'm already interested in shorts up at this level. Not if we just tap the level. And again, it's not that you can't just tap it and rotate, but for me to actually take the trade, I need to hit the key level and get a confirmation signal, right? So what do we have here? Now we have a bearish divergence looking to form. Bearish divergence forms. Get stuck in the value area, right? At this point, you get back in, bearish retest. Next high probability target would be the POC for maybe a take profit 1. Right? Can you hold through that? Right? This is another place where people get, oh my God, right? Higher probability. You got to be able to endure the ebbs and flows. PLC gets tapped, maybe a TP1, stop loss to break even, guaranteed winning trade. If you get stopped out, you get stopped out in profit. But you understand that there's a high probability for a rotation below the into the value area low. And boom, right? You front run it, you eventually tap it. So that's what I talk about when I say confirmations. Now, within the volume profile, like a traditional, obviously I did not invent this strategy. What a lot of people like to do, this isn't typically how I trade volume profiles or something that I necessarily look for, but what a lot of people will look for is a 30-minute candle confirmation, 30-minute close above the value area low. But of course, just even in these examples, I didn't know this was going to be the case. Wick below, you get a candle closure, you confirm it, right? That would technically be your entry. You wind up coming back down, right? And then on the way back down, right, like maybe you get stopped out or something, and then you don't get another, you have to wait for this 30-minute candle to print. And it's just, I don't know. I like to see the confirmation, right? It's very likely that those divs at the low are very high probability. And if you guys check out my indicator, free, 100% free, no strings attached, no email, no phone number, no nothing, right? You can just pull it up, search Frankie Candles on TradingView. It's by Lux Algo. Shout out to Lux Algo. This indicator is actually built to kind of call those confirmations and show you. Obviously, no indicator is going to be perfect. Sometimes it won't call it There we go. Let me go ahead and change this to pull my divergences from market cipher B. Light blue wave. And it obviously works off certain conditions, right? So what this is really meant to do is to call divergences above or below the value area. I would probably have to change some more settings here, but at the end of the day, right, we're on the 30-minute. Let me come down to the 15-minute. Come on. Come on. Don't make me do this again. Don't make me do. Oh, there we go. Right. So what happens? Right. A slightly different range. I just pulled this a little bit more randomly. But here you go. Right. The sauce can. This lets you know that that divergence is forming. Right. Lower lows. Sauce can prints. This is telling you that you are getting a confirmation below the value area. This is not to be traded as a buy or sell signal. Right. I'm not telling you to get this and just sell every time you see a sauce can. You have to understand the context of the market. You have to understand something. If it was as easy, right? Even my indicator, I'm not going to tell you to use and as a buy and sell indicator. Those are too good to be true. They are. Trust me, they don't exist. If it was that easy, I would just code this to take longs and shorts on the sauce cans and just print money automatically. But this really helps you understand what is happening here. Deviation below the low. Line marks out the bullish divergence. Sauce can lets you know that you got that bullish confirmation outside of the value area where it is cheap. You get in, rotate the volume profile. Same thing here. Bearish divergence, sauce can prints, full rotation, right? So that'll help you. That we built this in collaboration with Lux Algo to kind of just like simplify the TA for people and let them know to help them understand like kind of what we look for, right? Again, not a buy or sell indicator. I know this looks very enticing, but like just look up here, right? You get like bearish divergences. You come down, you come back up, another bear div, then you come back in. So you do have to understand a bit about the market, right? Nothing is going to ever be as easy as just buy and sell. So there you go, right? You could use 30-minute candle closers, but for me, I like to actually see true reversal signals. Let's see. Six confluences before I take a trade. Shout out to Hopium Copium. I would honestly caution again. I mean, not listen, take as many confirmations as you need. But you also don't want to be like, at some point, I think a lot of people struggle with this as well. At some point, like trading is like, there's always going to be risk in a trade, right? You're never going to be able to take a trade that has a 100% guarantee. So you kind of have to get comfortable with getting stopped out, right? Like getting stopped out is not necessarily like, oh, I lost. Like, it's just a part of the game. It's a cost of doing business. Every trade that you take is going to have risk as long as that risk is measured. You don't necessarily want to be the guys waiting for the confirmation of the confirmation of the confirmation of the confirmation. Because at that point, you're just going to wind up missing every trade, entering late, and it's not going to be a great deal. So you do want to be careful about that, right? For me personally, if I get a tap into a key level, one bullish confirmation, and I have confluence, even sometimes if I don't have the confluence, I'll still fire on the trade because it's if you get stopped out and you're managing your risk, it's just a small loss, right? Like anytime a trade plays out in full, it's going to pay that loss plus profit. So yeah, you don't want to be at that point, like you're just always going to be waiting for mad confirmation, and you're going to wind up missing a ton of trades. And again, I think a lot of people, when they do that, they're kind of chasing something that doesn't exist, which is like 100% guaranteed trade. Let's see. Yeah, too much filtering with confluence, but crypto is a volatile scam. Yeah, that's why I would just always say like the best defense against that is like I got stopped out of a long yesterday, but it's not. I got wrecked, right? It's like I just took a small loss. And it's actually funny because like it's almost like every trade I get stopped out of, I'm always like upfront when I take it. Like even in the premium Discord, I'll let them know I'm taking a trade, not as a signal, just let them know what I'm doing. But it's like I don't even remember exactly where it was from. I think it might have been from here on some low time frame confluences. But it was a value area low. Why didn't I like it? I even talked about this on the live stream. We had 5-minute money flow crossing into the red with an 80-minute red dot, right? So it's like, even sometimes I'll take like like there's your 5-minute money flow crossover. Yeah, I think this was right here. It's like you bounce off the low, but it's and you're at the value area low. You do have bullish divergences, but again, this is why it's important. Like why I would say like don't just long sauce cans, right? Like again, if it was that easy, everyone would just use that, right? Whether it's my indicator or some other buy and sell indicator. That's not the purpose of it. It's just kind of teach like, hey, that's where you see a confirmation. You could back test it. You could use it as confluence, but people love it. People like. Frankie's indicator's a money printer. I just hope that they're not buying and selling the sauce cans. Because eventually, like, this might print, right? Like, where is it? Where are we? On the 5-minute? Right, let's just say you have a bullish divergence here, right? Like, if you have money flow coming out, right? Again, 5-minute money flow crossover with an 80-minute red dot happening at the same time is looked at as a market cipher B 1/16th bearish setup, right? So when you have that 80-minute red dot and that 5-minute money flow crossing into the red, chances are, right, like you're going to get a continuation of the downtrend. But again, right, like you take a shot at that long, right, and like, the risk to reward could be like very low, even if you had just stop loss below here, right? It's like you take a very small loss for a potentially much bigger win, right? And if you can get stopped out of 10 of these trades in a row, one plays out, right, you're going to make your money back plus profit. Risk management over win rate 100% of the time. Shout out to Kem says, that's called death by 1,000 cuts. Well, here's the thing, right? If you run the math, I actually have this posted in the Discord as like a, if you're risking the right percentage, right? Like this is, I go over this all the time, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. It's like super basic. But if you take 5 trades in a row, right? And you lose 3 of them, right? Small loss, small loss, small loss. Let's say this one hits TP1, stopped out in profit, and then this one hits full TP. These are going to pay you out. Cover those those tiny losses plus profit, right? This puts your P&L in a situation where, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, okay, I'm in the profit. Oh, okay, cool. I hit full TP, right? And then maybe take a couple losses, right? And then the slow grind up. This is not what people want to hear, right? Like this is the reality. Most people want to open their trading account, risk the entire account, to hopefully just like make $1 bazillion, right? But if they lose that trade, the problem is it's a gamble, right? They're either going to lose all their money or they're going to make a ton of money. And in order to, if you risk 1% of your account, like I think you have to lose, you could lose 50 straight trades in a row and still have more than half your account left, right? And losing 50 straight trades in a row is honestly difficult. I don't think I've ever lost 50 trades in a row. That's crazy, right? If you're losing 50 trades in a row, I would say even if you're losing like 30 trades, 25 trades in a row, right? Like that is probably, the problem there is probably the TA or the strategy. So it would only be death by 1,000 cuts if you lose like every single trade, right? Because to die, right? Again, risking 1%, it's just for easy math, 1% of your account. Losing 50 straight trades in a row, you still have more than half your account left, right? So death would be losing your entire account. You would have to lose so many trades. And in that case, right, like the problem there is probably the strategy, which in my opinion is probably when people blow up their accounts, that's probably the least likely problem, right? The biggest problem is probably that they're not managing the risk, and they're probably blowing up their account in like 1 or 2 trades or 3 trades. So, I mean, there's so many profitable enough strategies out there. Volume profiles is on the higher end of profitability. But, whether you're trading anything with good enough risk management, you can make money over time. Like the market is somewhat random. Regardless of like how good your TA is, sometimes the market is random. Doesn't seem that way a lot, right? Like I could always point to that liquidation wick on October 10th as randomness. But again, right, like that was just in line with our plan that we were looking at anyway. But sometimes the market is random, right? Sometimes you get a long signal, right? Never that I'm really looking for longs at a high like that, but it's like sometimes you get a long setup, right? And then some crazy thing happens and it just goes down for no reason, or there's a tweet or something like that. So you have to, that's like the only thing that you can control in the market is your risk, right? Your risk management and your, I guess, mental discipline, right? Or your emotional discipline. It's the only thing you control. You can't control price getting a crazy liquidation. You can't control someone tweeting. You can't control just random, shocking moves in the market. There is a giant level of randomness in the market. So the only way to combat that and the only thing you literally have control over is your plan and your risk management. So yeah. You'd have to lose probably maybe 1,000. It would be death by 1,000 cuts. But if you lose 1,000 trades in a row, that is impressive. Oh, that was in response to what Dave said. Well, shout out to. I'm sure I probably answered a question for somebody out there. And when you take so many small trades, you consider counter trading yourself, only to end up confused. Yeah. Talk about the journey of a trader. Let's see. Having a higher win rate is better for my mental. If I lose more than 5 trades in a row, it messes with my confidence. Yeah, shout out to Spinner Trades. That is like the one thing. I mean, you want to talk about like mental strength, right? And this is something that like someone can't really teach, right? Like they can teach you about it, right? But like obviously it comes down to the individual, of course, right? Like for me personally, right? There's times where I'll go on losing streaks on good setups, right? Like they might check off all the boxes, right? I come to the key level, I have confirmation, I have confluence, right? And like sometimes I'll just get like wicked out and then the trade plays out, or you might just get like a bad week, right? You're gonna have losing streaks and winning streaks. But that is the really difficult thing is, if I take 3 trades in a row that I would consider high probability, like the long that I got stopped out of yesterday, I even mentioned on the live stream, because of that 5-minute money flow, lower probability, right? So like I wasn't really shocked to get stopped out of that. But I could see, take 3 trades that are super high probability and they all get stopped out. When I see that next high probability trade, I'm going to take that. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not more difficult for me to take, right? I'm not perfect. Sometimes I will be like, oh, I don't know, like the last 3 didn't play out. Like I'm a little more hesitant. I totally feel those emotions, and once in a while we'll act on them. But that's what you have to fight, right? Like if you're following your system, it should be, hey, these 3 lost, but they were good setups. That's a good loss, right? You have to learn how to be a good loser, right? Like review the trade. Did I hit a key level? Yes. Did I get confirmation? Yes. Did I have confluence? Yes. Well, hey, I got stopped out, but that was a good trade that I would take any day. And I could take 3 losses in a row. If I see that setup again, regardless of if I lost 3 in a row before, if it's still a good setup, I'm going to take that trade again, because the law of probabilities would say that would pay out long term, right? But it's really difficult, right? I feel that too, right? If I'm on a losing streak, it's like, oh man, another good setup, but the last 3 didn't play out. Definitely something very difficult. I think market experience and like just time in the game helps you kind of fight that. Like at this point, I think I'm dead inside, right? Like I just see candles, levels, and entry signals, right? And money flow, I guess. At that point, it's just like, it's if this, then that. If I get stopped out, like I don't even get emotional when I get stopped out. The only time I'll get like emotional is if I get liquidated. And the reason that's emotional for me is because I get mad at myself. Like, why did I not double check the stop loss? Why did I not have a stop loss set, right? It's not because I'm mad at the setup or the TA. It's just like I'm mad at myself. Happens very rarely, though. Yeah, shout out to Dar, says the hardest part about trading, my trading journey, by far was self-sabotage and almost blacking out when revenge trading. It is the strangest thing when you recover your senses. Yeah, you like look back in hindsight, it's like, why did I do that? That is the hardest part of trading in general, I would say. Not just your journey, but I would say that's the hardest part of trading in general. It's the hardest thing to control. You have to be dead inside to survive the game, 100%. I think I had 6 losers in a row so far. Then I want to throw the monitor across the room. Then I get back to break even. Yeah, shout out to Bailey. Another thing, you can have a stop win and a stop loss for the day, right? You can have a max amount that you want to risk on your account per day. That could be across multiple trades. And a max win, right? If you make money for the day, right? Let's say you make $500 for the day, $100 for the day, $1,000 for the day, whatever it is for you. You make that money in the day, stop, walk away, right? Like this is like, don't be a junkie for the trades, a junkie for the chart, right? Like if you get on the charts, you get a nice setup, you take the trade, you make money for that day, maybe take partial profits, move your stop loss to break even, or close the whole trade and leave, right? It's like a lot of people throw away the benefits of being a trader for an addiction, right? It's like the benefits of being a trader is like, hey, I just made $2,000 today. I could just walk away right now. I made more than most people make at their job, and I could just come back tomorrow, right? that's not what a lot of people do, right? A lot of people will be like, all right, now I'm on the next trade. Now I have more cushion to lose, so let me take some more. I'll try to make more, right? It's like that mental addiction that people have to the charts that is super, super dangerous. So, like, if you get a win, walk away from the charts. 99% of people don't have the willpower to do that, right? They want to sit there, and then, like, I know somebody in this chat, probably multiple people in this chat have gone there or been there, made money, stayed on the charts, and then gave it all back. Walk away. Wait for another setup. Don't force trades. Don't chase every single move. It's very important. We need a psychology video, Frankie. Shout out to Crypto Paisa. I mean, literally, I would title that video, The Secret to Trading. Everybody wants the indicator. Everybody wants the strategy. Everybody wants the signal. That is not the secret to trading. It's just not. There's no aha moment where you find an indicator, you find a strategy, and it's like, oh, now I can take guaranteed winning trades. This is now easy. I'm going to lay on a beach and just blindly click buttons and make money. That does not exist. There's no signals group that exists. Right? Like, I'm sure there's good signals groups out there, but, like, if it actually worked without the trader discretion, why is there not just a bot set up for those signals and people just, like, you could put $1 million in there, full port, or not even full port, but, like, put $1 million in there, make a bot, and print money. If that were the case, everybody would do it, right? And this is why I say those are fallacies. These are fake dreams that people sell you. You can get rich trading, trust me. Right? But it is not through the way people sell things, right? Join my signals group, right? My Discord, I'm very open about. It is not a signals group. I give you my spoon-fed trade setups, and I teach you exactly what I look for. I teach you how to fish. And I basically, like, give you the bait, the best fishing rod, the best tools, the best whatever, I don't know, the best fishing line, and then I point you to the hole in the ice where the best fish are. And I say, when the fish come through that hole, that's where you go. If there's no fish, don't reel up the line, right? Wait for it to bite. But it is not, I would never tell someone to ever come into my group and just be like, he longed, I'm going to long, right? If it were that easy, right, just set up a bot. And if that were the case, everybody would be rich. So the secret to trading is really understanding that most likely 99% of traders' problems are not the strategy, not the signals, not whatever they're looking for, not their indicator. It is their discipline, their self-control, and their lack of having a plan, right? And a lot of people jump in with that unknowingly, right? They just think like, well, this guy told me I can get rich really fast if I follow his signals, right? Well, if you don't understand the context of the market, if you don't understand how to take profit, if you don't understand, if you don't pay yourself, you're going to lose the trade eventually. It doesn't matter how good the signal is. The signal could play out. If you let it go all the way back down, you're going to lose money, right? So it is the most important thing. That is the secret to trading, in my opinion. But it's not what people want to hear, right? People would rather you tell them you're going to get rich overnight. Don't worry. Oh, you're losing money? That's okay. Just keep at it. It's like, it's just super disingenuous. Instead of getting in bad trades, I find new ways to create disposable income. I build my account while waiting for my setups. Hey, shout out to Mr. Market. That's not a bad idea. Finally got myself to put an auto stop loss to at least I don't blow my accounts anymore. Yeah, shout out to, and listen, guys, I think it's part of the journey, man. I've blown up more accounts than I can almost guarantee you anybody in this chat has. The reason I say this stuff is because I've literally been in your shoes. I've gotten out of them. I've been in the dark times. I've seen the light didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel forever until I was like in the light. And I was like, oh my God. I low-key never thought this was going to happen. Yeah, my biggest investment was my operating business. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Market. Again, it's like I never tell people ever to like quit their job to learn how to trade, right? It's very dangerous. It makes it a lot easier to emotionally separate yourself from the money when you have your bills paid from a sustainable source of income, right? You're not going to be revenge trading because you need that money for rent, right? And if you're revenge trading, you're probably forcing trades. If you're forcing trades, they're probably bad trades. If they're bad trades, you're probably going to lose them. You're going to lose more money. It's just an endless cycle. Let's see. All right. So, think of trading like a laying a nest. Shout out to Kodak. All right, so let's see here. Let me jump on down to the lower time frames here. So we got the 15-minute red dot kind of moving like molasses here. But there you go, right? We got the 15-minute red dot, little ebb flow to the downside, potential higher low, 15-minute money flow, rounding off, looking for the crossover into the green, which could indicate the continuation of the trend. If you were here from the beginning of the stream, 15-minute red dot, ebb flow to the downside, potential higher low. If we can approach 60, 68,582 at the value area low. Hopefully we can flip that for a push into the point of control / golden pocket, sitting between 69,437 and 67K, call it. Get above that. We can look for the move into the 786 value area high at 70,800. And then if we break above that, right, once you break above the 786, pulled from the high to the low, I mean, honestly, bearish confirmation, right? Could be another volume profile setup, right? But if you don't get the confirmation, we're able to flip this with money flow coming up. Maybe at this point, your 30-minute money flow is following suit with your 8-hour green dot, giving you a higher time frame market cipher B 1/16th bullish setup. If that is the case and you're able to break and hold that 786, the biggest level I would look at is to come up and crack these highs, right? Flip the 786. If you're looking for a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low, flipping that 786 would invalidate that idea. And at that point, I'd look to break structure to the upside, which would be this wick at 72.2. And then we have the liquidity up there, which if we're able to squeeze those shorts out, could push us into that next bigger target between 73,323 and about $76,000. So that's my local plan here, guys. We'll see what happens. I got to hop out of here. But yeah, if you just tuned in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream. We talked about the higher time frames, my thought process. I'm not going to try to cover that every single day, just because it's going to take a long time for us to get more information on the higher time frames. And then, of course, if we do not see the bigger push into this profile and we get the bigger drop to the downside, the context is very clean, very simple, right? Assuming we don't get the bigger continuation up, right? You still got to get above the value area high. But if we do not, right, we wind up losing this POC. Of course, we have the local level here at the Golden Pocket Daily MPOC. I'll just pull up the MPOC because it's simple, right? MPOC sitting here at 64.8. I'm not super interested in that. I mean, it is your Golden Pocket. If this sets up tomorrow earlier during the day and I see some kind of a scalp setup, maybe I take a scalp from there. But at the end of the day, right, get below the POC. You got to be careful of just getting accepted through the bottom of the profile. But you have a very clean blueprint if we cannot get the bigger local push to the upside. Value area high, 70,000, call it 70,200. POC sitting at 67.3. And then, of course, honorable mention, not super interested, but we'll see what happens. And then once you lose that, right, technically you have the 786 down there, but bigger level would be value area low at about 59,772, where we have all that bigger confluence down below us. So we'll see what happens, guys. 4-hour money flow, attempting to curve up as well. So we'll also watch that. I'll be honest, like, I actually wouldn't hate a bigger push up first if we are going to come back down, because, again, that could set us up for a little bit of a cleaner daily bullish divergence into our massive support down here. Right? So we'll see what happens. I'm going to wait for the key levels to get tapped. Maybe I'll take an entry here on a retracement or something, a more significant retracement or reclaim of the value area low. But that's the plan to the downside and the upside, guys. Local levels, macro levels, medium time frame levels, and all the sauce. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us here. We will be live again tomorrow. Pull up OBS here. Am I on my face cam? Oh, hey, guys. What's up? But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. This bearish, long-term bearish stuff is not going to last forever. 2026, hashtag 2026 bottom watch. Hopefully it's not down to 30K. Hopefully you get the earlier bottom. But I'll keep you guys updated here every single step of the way. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Shout out to Tommy. Shout out to Mr. Market. Shout out to Dave Digital. Shout out to Kodak. Shout out to Panda Profit. Oh, I don't know what that was. 15-minute money flow crossing over into the green. Let's see if we can get that local trend continuation. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button on the way out, and turn on notifications because we kind of go live during the day earlier, but sometimes at 1, sometimes at 2, sometimes at 1:30. So make sure you don't miss the live streams and see if we can get a bigger move on Bitcoin here. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor.